Interactive Brokers is one of the more popular brokers around here. But one of the most common complaints about IB is that it's not exactly the easiest broker to use. So in this video, I'll be sharing 12 tips and tricks to improve your IB experience. Alright, let's start right now. If you are in Singapore, you have the option to use either IB LLC or IBSG. There are a few main differences between the two. IB LLC has SIPC protection, lower 1% margin loan rates. For example, IB LLC currently charges 5.83% margin interest, while IBSG charges 6.83% margin interest. Next, IB LLC doesn't charge any GST. They are eligible for referrals and lets you lend out your stocks to earn a commission via the stock yield enhancement program, which I will talk about later in this video. On the other hand, IBSG lets you trade Singapore stocks and doesn't enforce pattern day trader rule. If you want to know which account you are currently using, in the website, go to Performance and Reports, Other Reports, Account Confirmation Letter, and generate the letter. If it says Interactive Brokers LLC, then you are using the LLC version. And if it says IB Singapore, then you're using IB Singapore. According to a comment from the forum, Singapore citizens can only open IBSG accounts. Let's go to tip number 2, pricing tiers. IB is offering 3 different pricing tiers. The tiered pricing, where the more you trade, the cheaper it gets. Fixed pricing, where it charges a fixed fee no matter what. And the light tier, which is completely free. Then I'm sure you are like, obviously the light tier is the best lah. But too bad, it's only available for US residents. So we can only choose between the tiered and fixed pricing. Tiered pricing is cheaper if you are trading a small amount of shares, like 5 Google stock or 1 Apple share. On the other hand, fixed pricing is cheaper if you are trading a large amount of shares. Also, if you are trading Singapore stocks, tiered pricing is definitely cheaper, as both tiered and fixed pricing starts at 0.08% of trade value and 250 SGD per order. But for tiered pricing, the more value you trade, the cheaper it becomes. So in general, for most investors like you and me, tiered pricing is cheaper. Okay, here's how to switch to tiered pricing. In the website, click on the user button at the top right side, Settings, scroll down a bit, then click on IBKR pricing plan. Then under stocks, ETFs and warrants, just switch it over to tiered pricing. Click continue and you are done. The change will take up to 1 business day to complete. Next, as they say, once you go black, you never go back. Dark mode is super useful, especially if you don't want to go blind while checking your stocks in the middle of the night. In the website, you can enable dark mode by going to the user button at the top right, then just choose dark mode. And in the app, go to More, Configuration, under Application Theme, change it to dark mode. Next, you can set your account-based currency. In general, the currency that you want will depend on what's the main market you are trading in. If you are trading mainly in the US market, then it's better to change the currency to USD. Or if you are trading mainly in the Singapore market, then SGD is better. That's because the numbers in the statements and reports will be denominated in your base currency. So to change the base currency, click on the user button at the top right side, Settings, look for base currency, then just change it to the currency that you want. And again, the change will take effect by the next business day. Next, if you don't have much money to trade, you are a poor boy. Just kidding. If you don't have much money to trade, you'll be glad to know that IB supports fractional shares. Basically, with fractional shares, you can buy less than 1 stock. For example, you can just buy $1 worth of Apple stock or $1 worth of Berkshire Hathaway and so on. But just take note, you can only trade fractional shares on the US and European market. So other markets like the Hong Kong and Singapore market doesn't support fractional trading. To enable fractional shares, just go to the user button at the top right side, go to Settings, go to Trading Permissions, click Stocks, scroll all the way down, then take Global, Trade in Fractions, then click Continue, and the change will take effect by the next business day. Then the next time you are trading stocks, you can buy as little as 0.0001 shares, or you can switch to USD and buy a minimum of 1 USD. Next tip, requesting additional trading permission. Maybe you want to trade additional stuff like options and futures, but IB suddenly tells you that you don't have trading permission. Basically, they'll be like, you shall not pass. To fix that, you will need to go to the user button at the top right, click on settings, trading permission, click on the instrument that you want to request trading permission for. For example, options. Select the country you want to enable trading permission for. Click continue and permissions will be approved within 2 business days. Next, enable margin trading. Okay, margin trading has a higher risk and most people don't need to have a margin account yet. But if you need to use margins, here's how to switch to a margin account. Click on the user button, settings, look for the account type, then just switch it to margins. Just take note, to qualify for the margin account, you will need to have $110,000 net account value and has approved options trading. Next, in your portfolio page, you can customize what columns you want to see. To customize, just click on the 3 dots on the right hand side, then click edit columns. Columns that I find useful are average price, unrealized P&L, unrealized P&L percentage, and percentage of net liquidation, which is what's the percentage of the stock in your portfolio. But you can just play around to find columns that are useful to you. If you want to manage the columns in the app, tap on the 3 dots button at the top right side, tap manage columns, and you can then customize your columns however you want to. Next, stock yield enhancement program. If you are using IB LLC, IB lets you lend out your shares to traders, and in return, you'll be paid a small amount of interest for lending out the shares. Wow, free money ah! Let's enable it ah! Wait, before you do it, here are 2 risks to take note of. First, shares that are loaned out are not protected by SIPC. So if you lend out your shares and IB suddenly closes shop, your shares won't be insured. Second, the shares that are loaned out are used for short selling. But in my opinion, the 5 or 10 shares that you loan out won't make much of a difference in the long-term stock performance. So those are the 2 biggest risks of this program. Personally, I've enabled this a long time ago. And if I go to reports under IBKR Managed Securities Lend Interest Details, I can see that in 2022, I was paid about $2.61 SGD, which is ain't much, but it's honest work. But in general, if you own shares that people want to borrow a lot, you'll be paid a higher interest. So if you're okay with the risk of lending out your shares, you can enable it by going to user button, settings, look for the stock yield enhancement program, then just enable it to start lending out your shares. Besides that, IB also lets you earn interest on your idle cash. So for example, they are currently paying a 3.83% interest for amounts above $10,000. For SGD, you earn a 2.351% interest for amounts that's above $14,000. Though, just take note, if your account net asset value is less than 100k, you will receive interest at rates proportional to the size of the account. This is useful because there's usually a waiting time when you are transferring your money from the bank account to the broker. So what I usually do is just transfer the money to the broker first, then leave the money there. Then whenever I see the stock dips, then I can buy the stock immediately. If I go to reports under interest accruals, I can see that in 2022, I earned around $208, which is not too bad. For this, you don't have to do anything. IB will just pay you the interest automatically. Next, whatever stock price that you see on IB are delayed by around 10 to 15 minutes. But if you want live data, you will need to pay some fees every month. Though, you don't really have to pay for the fees, as you can easily get live prices from places like TradingView, Google Finance, and Yahoo Finance. Another thing is that even though you don't have live prices, you can easily see a snapshot of the live prices by paying a small fee of 1 to 3 cents per snapshot. And the good thing is that every month, you get a $1 worth of free snapshots. Pro tip, to see how many snapshots you have done this month, you can go to User Buttons, Settings, Market Data Subscriptions, and under Market Data Snapshot Counter, you will see how many snapshots you have done this month. Last but not least, IB lets you generate a beautiful chart of your portfolio report so that you can see how much you have gained or lost. For a quick overview of your portfolio's performance, you can go to Performance and Reports and Portfolio Analyst. And here, you will see stuff like portfolio performance and what assets you own. If you want a more detailed report, under Portfolio Analyst, you can click on Reports and choose the report you want to generate. For example, since inception, then click on the detailed PDF button. And you will get a very nice report of your entire portfolio. So those were the 12 tips and tricks of using IB. Hopefully you find it useful. Like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.